Thank you all for allowing me to take the time from the agenda to speak to you to clear the air about several issues that you're all concerned about. I've been told I'm abrasive at times. I know I can be. Julie has certainly told me that over 40 years. I am determined to change that. To all those I have offended, my deepest and sincerest apologies. Regarding the closing of the office and the laying off of Kathy and Mark, this was an extremely difficult and personally painful decision because, as well as being co-workers, they are dear friends. But at this time, the REC's financial situation did not allow us any other option. There has been some question to my fundraising ability. Despite misconceptions, since my election, we have raised over $160,000. Unfortunately, partially due to commitments made prior to my administration, much of that money had already been earmarked. I will not allow anyone to tear this party apart for their own purposes. I sought this position to do great things with your help. And while my first 6 months have been a bit rocky, I will get better. It doesn't matter if it was a close election or a landslide. I have given my heart and soul to this party and will continue to do so. I, with the help of those that care as deeply as I do, will make the Palm Beach County Party something to be proud of. I have some announcements to make now. And after I make these announcements, I certainly will be taking questions from you. The office will be reopened on Monday, and it will be staffed by volunteers. So we're putting together a volunteer list. Claire, obviously, super volunteer, will be there. But if you can offer any time during the week, the office will be open 10 to 3, Monday through Thursday. So we can use your help. Lobster Fest has been scheduled. It will be held thanks to Linda Stock and Steve Ledowitz. They have graciously underwritten the deposit, and it will not cost the REC one dime out of pocket at this point. The website will be undergoing a total redesign to be made more user-friendly. This was donated, this redesign, valued somewhere between $8,000 and $10,000, was donated by a gentleman by the name of Mr. Steve Allenbach. Steve is a political operative working out of Boca Raton. And the last, and I feel most important, if I could ask Dr. Andrew Graham West to come up, please. Dr. West has agreed to be our interim director of marketing and finance. So with her help, your efforts, my rededication, and cleaning up my act, we're going to move this thing forward. It's going to be an organization that every one of us is going to be proud of. Dr. West, would you like to say something else? Thank you.
I'm going to be brief. I'm looking forward to working with all of you. We're just going to have a lot of volunteerism, and we're going to get a number of things going. I have a number of things in mind, and I'm going to be working close with Stephen Allenbach in order to make these things happen. We're just going to have a wonderful year. We're going to get people elected, and we're going to bring some life back into this organization. So I look forward to it. We have a lot of outreach to do, and I'm very excited. Thank you.
And now I'll answer questions.
Ira.
Guess what?
Why didn't you or any other officer of this group on Monday morning to greet Governor Scott?
We were not invited.
That's a question. Excuse me, Charlotte.
Excuse me, hold on, 1 second. I did not receive an invitation.
Repeat the question.
What? Well, hold, 1 second. The question is why Monday morning, when Governor Scott appeared at Vinny's Cafe in Boca, why no one, not myself or any of the officers, were there to greet him? And the response to that was, I personally did not receive an invitation. Okay, I understand that. And I had other commitments to make, and the trip or the schedule of Governor Scott, that trip was announced at the last minute. And I had other commitments.
What about all the other officers?
I don't know if the other officers received emails.
They all knew he was going to be there.
It was on the REC hotline. It was disgraceful, Ira.
Can't answer your question.
That was disgraceful.
Well, hold on 1 second.
Hi, I'm sorry, going down on the RIC, but I can elaborate on this. I know his daughter, but I work for the Republican Jewish Coalition. We were the first organization approached to do that event, and we were specifically told they didn't want the party involved because they only wanted original Jewish activists involved. I offered to extend the invitation to the REC members, and I was specifically told by RPOF and by Governor Scott's office that they did not want me to extend the invitation. Unfortunately, the RJC could not do the event because of other commitments the RJC had in other areas, but we were specifically told that it was not the party to be involved. The party was not to be involved, and I can tell you privately who told me that. Okay?
Thank you.
It was not a Republican Party event.
That doesn't mean you can't.
Oh, hold on, folks, hold on. Hey. Hold on, folks. Hold on. At this point, you asked the question, I answered it to the best of my ability, somebody responded, end. Next question. Nobody wants to know anything about what happened. The office, the finances. Yes, sir.
Our question I have is, last meeting in April, we weren't given an indication of that possible scenario.
Because I was, the question is, at the last meeting in April, you weren't told the possible scenario that developed. The reason you weren't told, I was meeting with someone who assured me they would be coming on to the President's Council and donating $25,000. When I went to get the check, you know the rest of the story. He didn't give me the check. He decided not to give me the check. Hey, Vic.
You are the treasurer of the previous administration. The newspaper tells us today that the difficulty, you said, happened because of the previous chairman. But you were treasurer at that time. The question is, did we not see this coming?
When I took office, we had a bank balance of $1,600 and a loan payable for $10,000. So that left us in a deficit of $8,600. We had scheduled Lincoln Day. We had scheduled a speaker prior to my taking office. Those two commitments were approximately $70,000 to $80,000. When I took office, not one ticket had been sold to Lincoln Day. The tickets to Lincoln Day were sold basically in a 3.5-week period. Now the reason the premium tables weren't sold at the $15,000 and the $25,000 number is because we had to make sure we had enough money to pay the bill. You cannot, it is very difficult to sell a $25,000 table in 3.5 weeks. That's how this situation has developed. And as I said, that $160,000, most of that had been earmarked for various projects. Lincoln Day, the balance was used for rent, salaries, and your normal everyday operating expenses. Yes, sir.
You know, I didn't come here tonight to talk, but I also didn't come here tonight to hear you say a lot of things that simply aren't true.
Okay.
But I want you to inherit. So let me say a couple of things.
Take a mic there.
Take a mic here. Go over here, Sid.
Number one, the reason we raise money is to spend it on elections. Every other November, we have no money at the end of elections. The good news is we were the #1 party in the state. We did McCain plus 4 points for Romney. Nobody else in the state, if not the country, as a large county, came close to that. We did 35,000 additional votes over McCain. Nobody did that. All the other large counties in this country, in this state, did like 50 or 100,000 votes less. And that was because we spent your money and Boca Club money to open Margie's office because the Romney people wouldn't give us one dime for that office, and that's where all those extra votes came from. That's number one. Number two, what Ira is saying about Lincoln Day is mostly untrue. First off, I committed personally that I would never leave the next chairman in the condition I inherited when I became chairman in December 2002. A totally unpaid Lincoln Day without a speaker, and at that one, with a contract signed at the breakers. Okay, I said, that was my first month as chairman 10 years ago was my worst month as chairman because of that. So what we did, I had Susanna, and she did the Trump deal. I didn't do the Trump deal. I had no relationship there. Susanna came to me and said, I want to do a Trump deal. I said, you'll never get a deal we can afford. She came back with a deal better than Kravitz. This was the best Lincoln Day ever. Mar-a-Lago, Donald Trump, Laura Ingraham, at a price we could afford, and we raised the ticket price to $250. Okay, so this was beyond fabulous. And what Ira is not telling you is that one of the differences between Trump and Kravitz, with Kravitz you pay almost all the money after your event. With Trump you pay the money beforehand. So we had paid most of the money. We had paid the guarantee of the 250 people while I was chairman. And that's why, when it came to Laura Ingraham, who also insisted on the money up front, I lent the party $10,000, an agreement that both Ira and I were party to because he was the treasurer. And then after the event, I asked him to pay me back, which he did. And that's 100% of what that was about. The issue is, where were the premium tables? We had 2 months. This deal was done while I was chairman. We had everything. We had the place, we had the speaker, we had the time, we had Donald Trump, we had Laura Ingraham. Where were the premium tables? And the answer was, Ira was focused on firing Susanna.
That's right.
And Susanna came to us as a fundraiser. And he was doing it, in my opinion, I could be wrong, on behalf of his friend Jay. And that's what happened. And Jay, who is our largest vendor of local people, should have bought a $5,000 table for all the money he makes off us. To be honest with you, for all the abuse that he put on Susanna, who was 25 years old, wouldn't allow herself to be bullied when we were doing last year's Lobster Fest invites. So when Jay bullied her, when Jay said to her, I'm not letting you do those invites for the REC because I'm a member, she said, thank you, you can leave. She did those invites, went to a competitor, got it for half the price. Okay, and then Jay went on a rampage, assisted by Ira, to treat this girl in a way that when Jay went to one of our lawyers to say, how do I get rid of her? The lawyer said to Jay, you better be careful she doesn't turn around and sue you. That's how bad this young woman is treated. But the fact is, she bought the deal. She was our executive director, and he fired her. He sent me an email and said, I want to fire her. I said, do yourself a favor. Don't fire her till after Lincoln Day if you have to fire her. A week later, he fired her. So then we went 3 weeks between her and Kathy. So when he tells you all the tickets were sold in the last few weeks, yeah, he didn't have an executive director. He fired the person who was doing it. At the same time, we had built the Patriots up to 60 people. Our goal was 200 that we were going to do over a couple of years. The 2 people who built that program were Phil Nicosesis.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, were Phil Nicosesis.
Either one of them, Mr. Chairman.
Well, he's not. Hang on.
No, let me finish. With Phil Nicosesis and Susanna Barash. They built that program, and they were going to build that program to the sky. But when Phil built that program,
Mr. Chairman, normally we have 3 minutes.
What do you want me to do, Peter?
Okay, here's what I'm going to say. Thank you for giving me the floor. I appreciate that. We can debate the pros and cons of how we got here forever. Okay, here's what I propose so that we can get some closure to this, not now, but down the road. That is this. I'm not accusing anybody of any wrongdoing here, okay? But we had some financial problems with the Republican Party of Florida. We did an audit and we got it straightened out. For this body, we cannot afford an audit. Here's what I propose so that we can have some information brought back to the board. I propose that we set up tonight an ad hoc, temporary, internal audit committee made up of us to go through our finances for the last 18 months, just so we can be assured that we know where did this start, how did we get here, and so that at the end of the day, we can acknowledge mistakes were made. Maybe there was no dishonesty, no wrongdoing, but we need to know these answers. Otherwise, we'll just end up in a debate between you and your folks.
Let me say this, Peter.
This has been a debate. This has been a
Let me say this.
So I'm trying to get to the point where we can get this investigated internally, not in the press, internally. Okay? Clean up our own house ourselves, not in the press, within our own house, so we can move forward to elect Republicans, which is what we're supposed to do.
And then I'm going to go sit down. Let me say this. I am not going to be George Bush to Barack Obama.
Right.
Okay? If you don't have the skills to do this job, don't run. But don't spend your time blaming who came before you. I raised more money than any chairman in the state for 10 straight years. So all I say to anybody, you got elected on a certain day, you had the cards dealt to you, you knew what they were, especially if you were the treasurer. You didn't like them, you shouldn't have run. If Marie Davis had won, we wouldn't be here tonight. And I'm not saying this on behalf of Marie. I am saying that she came to me and said she wouldn't run if she didn't have her fundraising lined up. So when she ran it, then she had her fundraising lined up. And frankly, I assumed you did too, because I know the guys who should be your big donors, and I don't know where they are. And with that, I'm not looking to fight with Ira. I appreciate how hard it is to be chairman. Leah, you're going to have to knock me out of order. I appreciate how hard it is to be chairman, but I don't want you disparaging my 10 years and my commitment that I made to this organization.
First of all, when Peter said chairman, you're not chairman. That's number one. Number two, you mentioned Phil Nicosis. I didn't bring him up, you did. Phil Nicosis was your finance chair. He didn't bring in one dime, other than Patriots. Patriots was my idea, and the initial idea of Patriots was one ticket to force the purchase of the second ticket. You said, no, give him 2 tickets. So you initially cost us 20 grand.
I'm good.
Right, we're not there right now.
Article 7, the county executive committee shall annually appoint an audit committee
That's different.
from among its members, which committee shall perform an audit of the financial affairs.
That's not a special audit committee.
And cause the same to be made public. We are supposed to do an audit anyway, so that's suggested.
I appreciate, Mr. Chairman.
Can I just say something? Phil Nicosis is here. Ira, I don't mean to get into the fray, but I guess I've been brought into it. When it was said that I didn't bring $1 into the organization. I'm on the Council of Trustees, and I personally wrote a check this year for $6,000. I don't say that to brag, but guess what? The way it's going right now, you will never see the color of my money, and there's a lot of other people that feel exactly the same way.
Then what we'll have to do is rebuild the base, and donating $6,000 is not fundraising. That's writing a check. If you're director of fundraising, you have to go out and raise funds from other people. Yes, Roz?